This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an insurance agent. Now, here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum, Mike Basil, and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. And for the last 17 minutes, Shane, Mike, and I have pontificated over absolutely nothing whatsoever, but it has included spaghetti and waffle squares and how most men think and how most women think. We have talked about if you are multi-focused, you are not focused on anything. And we have talked about something else that my brain... Oh, we also learned that sometimes when you think your computer is muted and you don't think people are hearing your conversations, that you're actually not muted. Anything else for the first 17 minutes, guys?
It's called a hot mic. Not Mike. Yep. Not Mike, but a hot mic, right? When you're not muted. So,
Mike, I think he just said you weren't hot.
I'm not calling Mike hot. I'm saying we know what I'm saying.
No one knows what you're saying right
you
now.
Knew what
no
I
one
meant.
knows what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of words.
My favorite thing so far has been that is this, the noodle brain, the woman is a noodle. Mine's or spaghetti.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Noodle's
Right.
probably doesn't feel good to say noodle. Probably.
It doesn't.
Spaghetti probably feels better, right?
Right.
So, the fact that it was brought up that it's, focused on multiple things or two different things, right? Which is actually not focused at all. I think that's my favorite so far today.
And it's not that women don't focus, it's that our thoughts do this. And so we focus on one thing that leads to the next thing, that leads to the next thing, that leads to the next thing. But we don't ever not think about something. We're constantly thinking about something where men think like waffle squares. And so they have like little squares of this is what, they're thinking about in this square, and then they think about this square next. And they don't think about anything at all when they're in this square, which we as women can't comprehend. But that everything they think of is in individual squares, and they hop from one thing cleanly to the next. And as women, we don't do that for the most part.
Shane, do you ever think about nothing at all? I can honestly say I never do that.
I don't think I have ever thought about nothing. Like, I get that a lot. Like, you watch the reels or whatever, and where the guy's like, the woman's like, what are you thinking? Or I bet he's thinking about another woman, or I bet he's thinking about whatever. And the guy's literally like, I'm thinking about nothing. Like, I don't know that there's ever a place in time where I think about nothing.
Agreed.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Agree with
well,
that.
most guys are that way. Most guys have these, and you can usually, like when it happens to the cute boy, you can see it in his face. Like he goes somewhere and then he comes back, and you can see it when he comes back.
That means he went somewhere to think about something.
That's exactly right. Yeah, he's thinking about something. Something got triggered. Like some nonsense got triggered, and then you're over here thinking about the nonsense, and then all of a sudden you're like, so you're like this mentally, and then whoops, yep, back over here.
According to Tonya, you're spaghetti when you do that. I refuse to get labeled waffle. Sorry, I love waffles, but
Oh, I haven't had a waffle in a long time. I wonder if they make sugar-free waffles.
See, here we go again. Spaghetti.
No, right? That's a waffle. You've gone from here over to here.
They don't make them, but you can make them.
I can make them. Yeah.
Ask Julie for the recipe. She has it.
Oh, okay. I will do that. See, There we go. Okay.
Go.
So we started this thinking about an insurance podcast. And my takeaway is I'm going to get a sugar-free waffle recipe from the wife.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's go back to insurance. And today we are talking about treating your business as though it's always for sale, even if it's not actually for sale, and why that will help you be more successful. Your business will run more smoothly. And if you ever decide that maybe this isn't what you want to do, or if somebody comes in and wants to offer you a tremendous amount of money for you to retire, then everything is ready to go and you can get top dollar for it.
Yeah, this is like a mental thing that I think most agency owners have a hard time getting their head around. And I think it's because most, if not all, agency owners originated as salespeople, producers. Very few insurance agencies today are owned by and operated by non-salespeople. There are a few, right? There are some people who've bought agencies and maybe they're operational people, but they were sort of already established. They were more investor type mindsets. That have to be a little bit larger scale, that type of thing. For 85 to 90% of the agencies out there in the marketplace, if not more than that, they're run by salespeople. And so you have to kind of start there. Like, okay, what are you talking about? Like, why are you saying run my business like it's always for sale? Well, your business will be a better business if you run it that way.
You know, what's super interesting to me is when I first saw the topic, the first thing that popped into my waffle is that I wouldn't do it that way. I would actually run my business like I'm never going to sell it. And I'm planning on having one of my kids take it over. So it's just, but it all lands in the same place, right? But it's just mentally, I was thinking that's how I want to work. Like I want to work where every client is being treated like they're going to be a client for 50 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much on the profitability side that I was thinking that through originally. The first thought in my mind was having a healthy, happy client base.
I think this is a great clarification and something that we, to your point, maybe a definition of something, when I'm thinking about running your business as if it's for sale, as if it's always for sale, I'm more in line with what you're talking about, as if you're going to perpetuate it to the next generation. I think people would interpret maybe that, well, if I'm going to run my business as if it's for sale, then I'm trying to squeeze every penny of earnings, EBITDA. I'm going to try to squeeze every penny out of my agency because that is what's going to create the highest valuation. Okay. And I think that's a great point. I would lean to you and your point, Mike, which is actually what we're doing, right? What we're doing is we're running our business as if it's going to pass to the next generation. Now, my view of that is that we're actually making it more valuable to run it that way than if we were trying to run it for the next 3 years, short-term view, so we could sell it to the highest bidder, right? I would actually run it differently if I was trying to do that, which is not in my culture, mindset. It's just not who we are. And so we would always struggle with that. We would be squeezing payroll, lowering staff count. We would be doing all kinds of things that you see big corporate America do, right? Layoffs. We would not be investing in anything outside of top line growth. And I would rather do what you're talking about, Mike. I would rather run the business as if you're perpetuating it.
So if this was a conversation that was happening at our Integral Partner Network conference and you use the term EBITDA, let me tell you what would be happening right now. is I would be getting like 6 or 7 texts from random partners that say, what is EBITDA? And it would have like different spellings of that and why, because like sometimes Shane will use terminology and I seriously start to get questions from our partner agents. And not everybody has a degree in finance. Not everybody is that into the business side of things. And it's like, okay, if I had this much money in my checking account, then I can do this month. And this is the balance that goes. I mean, like that's where a lot of people are. And like, why does EBITDA matter? Like, and it is earnings before interest, taxes, and amortization. So like, that's not actually a really, it's not that broad or complicated of a thing, right? But when we start to use terminology like that with a solopreneur or somebody that's new from going to producer to business owner, agency owner, then their eyes start to glaze over and they don't hear anything that's being said after that.
Yeah, maybe so. I typically would say a phrase like that and then define that phrase in that setting.
Well, those people are already texting me at that point, so they're not hearing that.
Yeah. So
waffles.
The other reason that sometimes that's irrelevant is because I believe that agency categories for acquisition fall in 2 camps. Most agencies are actually going to fall below the EBITDA valuation. Okay. And so I typically stay away from the term EBITDA if I'm talking to an agency that's doing under probably somewhere in the 7 to 750,000 in commission revenue, maybe on up to $1 million. I think once you start bumping $1 million, I think things get a little bit different. And I'm talking revenue, not premium. Really clear there. Most of those agencies under $500,000 in revenue per year, you're going to be talking about a revenue multiple. You're probably not going to be talking about an EBITDA multiple because it complicates things too much. Now that's my view, right? There may be some valuation experts out there that, debate that or disagree with me on that. But once everything gets to bumping that $1 million mark or over the 750 and going above that, you're pretty much going to start getting into that earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Berkshire Hathaway, they hate EBITDA, right? But EBITDA has become a really big insurance industry term because it's become a pretty standard valuation method for several consultants.
I thought the answer was because it's an acronym. Because
that too. We love acronyms in this industry, right?
So building an agency that somebody wants from a financial standpoint, they're looking for clean bookkeeping, strong cash flow, recurring revenue, profitability, right? So how do we get our financials to where somebody would want to buy us if there was interest?
Well, first step is you need to have financials. Okay. So
that's so funny you said that because I was thinking the same thing along the same lines is have someone else do it.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing it good enough.
Yeah. You're probably not doing it well. There's actually a really good, like a sub economy, so to speak, of accounting consultants in the insurance industry that they're really growing. They're really doing well. A lot of them are really small businesses that are doing this. And we have agents working with a couple of different ones. And, to Mike's point, number one, either have a CPA, definitely have a CPA, but also, if you don't know how to do this, there are fractional CFO services. That sounds really corporate and complicated, but don't let it. Basically you pay a monthly fee for this person to run your financials. And I want to back up to what I said and go, the first thing you need to do is have financials. I cannot tell you how many agencies that I've come across through the years. I would say more than 50% who technically do not have financials. Like they do not run a profit and loss statement. They do not run a balance sheet. And when I say first things first, let's create financials, that's what I mean. A profit and loss statement. If really want to be on the cutting edge, a cash flow statement. But a balance sheet in a P&L, profit and loss, we'll start using these acronyms. That's critical, right? So many times I've had agents call me and say, hey, want to talk to you. Are you interested in buying my book of business? I'm thinking about retiring. I'm like, sure, let's talk about that. And what would you like to see? And, I will ask, the last 12 months, the last year financials. I'd like to see some books of business from the carriers to validate some things, and during the headlights right out of the gate on P&L. Well, can I give you my tax return? Is that okay? And you're like, well, the problem with the tax return is if you're that person, your tax return is probably a lot of mixed in personal stuff, right? And so you're probably not going to have a business tax return if you don't have business financials. And so it kind of gets convoluted. And I think starting with creating financials is a good place to start on how to run your business to be for sale or to perpetuate your business.
All I thought of when you started talking about that was Dodgeball at the beginning, the movie Dodgeball at the beginning, where Peter's in trouble financially and with a Kate comes in and is like, oh, do you have receipts? And he just goes to the back of the office, opens the door, and they just come spilling out.
Yeah, absolutely. The entrepreneur nightmare.
One of the things that I learned very, very early on in my professional career, I was very blessed to work for someone who was very accounting focused. And that's what Saturday mornings were for. And throughout the week, everything, all of the regular normal stuff was done. And then on Saturday morning, I was at the office and I learned to do financial statements. I learned how to read, profit and loss sheets and cash flow sheets. But that was never done during regular normal business hours because that is a high focus thing. And I think that's a challenge when I talk with agency owners is if they're trying to do financials and then a client calls, well, they're going to take care of that client first. And every time you stop doing your financials to take care of a client, well, then you just set yourself back about 20 minutes on doing your financials because you've got to go back and figure out where you were. So I want to encourage our agency owners, whether it's Saturday morning or Saturday night or Sunday or Tuesday at 7 p.m. or whenever, figure out when you're going to do that where you are not going to be distracted by taking care of clients.
Something else you alluded to there, Shane, was the intermingling of finances between your personal and your business. That's something you really have to be diligent about.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it where, this is a long time ago, but one credit card in the person's wallet, the business owner's wallet, and it is the business credit card. So it doesn't matter if they're going to Perkins or if they're going to buy something for the business, it's all going on the same one. Yeah. Don't know on the Perkins?
Perkins.
What's Perkins?
Are you talking about the restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perkins Family Restaurant. I got you. I'm with you.
Okay. My brain went to Perkins Row, which is shopping in Baton Rouge. And I'm like, can I take the Integra credit card to Perkins Row, have a little lunch at Drago's? And
Perkins, I know where he was going. Perkins Family Restaurant, little chain of restaurants there. They have one in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Also have one in Lawrence, Kansas. So
Well,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. So both of those things, right? And I want to go back to something that Tonya had kind of hit on here a little bit. And I think, what was it that you hit on, Tonya? Because my brain just went crazy.
You moved to a new lava square.
Yeah,
Matt,
I did.
No, I was talking about finding the right time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And dedicating
Okay.
the time.
Yeah.
Thank you. So here's the thing on that. Like, yes, option, definitely one of the options. Another option is just start now with that person, like, that person that it doesn't have to be an employee. You do not have to go and hire someone for this. Again, CPA, I'm going to harp on that, or someone who understands insurance accounting and is, there are people out there that can help you. And sometimes when I say CPA, it's kind of like EBITDA, right? Like, I think immediately when I say CPA, for some reason, insurance agency owners go down this path of, I can't afford that, right? Like, that's going to be some crazy number. Here's what I can tell you, because our business has a couple of subsidiary type businesses, right? And we have 3 or 4 different business tax returns, and we have a CPA that does all of it, all encompassing. And yes, when we're talking about the primary business and the size of the primary business, we spend a fair amount of money on our CPA just in tax discussions, tax consulting, tax processing, all of that. One of our companies, a family company, that is in the cattle and real estate, has some rental property and owns cattle. Okay. We operate it out of this one company. The CPA enters all the financials. We give her information. She takes care of it, her staff, right? We spend about $3,000, maybe $4,000, including the tax return itself, per year. A year. Less than about $350 a month on average is what it would break out to. $350 a month for her and her team to take care of all the financials and tax return for this one entity. And, it's not like really overbearing. And so I don't know very many agency owners who can't splurge for an extra $350 a month to have their financials in order, right? And so think about, when you hear CPA, don't deer in the headlights on me. Don't think I can't afford that, right? I'm not asking you to go work with one of the big 3 or 4 or whatever they are, accounting firms, whatever. It used to be big 6. It's not 6 anymore. You don't have to go to Ernst & Young. You don't have to go to Price Waterhouse. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a CPA, right? Someone that is a peer of you, right? They're a small business too. Great source of referrals. You guys can become partners in that. And so that's where I go when I'm like, get a CPA, have a financial expert in your corner.
I was always taught that a good CPA will pay for himself, or herself. Like, you're going to save so much money in the long term with a good CPA. They're going to save you way more than you will ever spend on them. You just have to give them a chance. And there's a difference in having a great CPA than doing your taxes online with the $29.99 software.
Yeah, it's not what I'm talking about. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's not unlike business class email, right? Don't have a Gmail account. It's not like it's having a solid website, right? Like CPA, same thing to me. Have a solid CPA, interview, hire this person, when you're comfortable. And then have them setting up your financials, helping you so that if something happens and you're not able to perpetuate the business to the next generation says, I don't care, I don't want it. You are basically able to take that information, and I promise you, either another agency or some organization that's looking to buy you is going to be very excited, and that's going to increase your value because you have clean stuff. Like you have vouched for information. That's the scariest part about buying any business is, can I trust this information that's coming at me?
From an operations perspective, most buyers are looking for documented workflows. They're looking for how your procedures are done. Are you consistently using your management system? Do you have a CRM in place? Do you have specific ways of doing things that they are buying, right? Are your people used to having systems?
Yes. Depends on the buyer, right? So if it's a large organization, large agency coming in to buy a smaller agency, they may just want your book of business, right? And you have to think about that, because if you have, let's say, 2 or 3 employees, and some of those, and maybe those are long-term employees at the point that you're, getting ready to sell and retire, I would think that would be the case. And so you want to have that conversation up front. Like, what kind of buyer is this? Yes, if someone's going to buy and expand through the acquisition, and which I think where Tonya's data would come from the most, is they want to know if the agency that you have, that's this asset that you've built, can it sustain itself without you? Right? Is everything in your brain, or is everything in procedures and workflows? And can the people that are working at your agency, are they going to be able to continue operating in that agency? And then I'll add one thing in there. Is there a diamond in the rough in that agency, either an office manager that might become my potential branch manager? Is there some type of management person that shows up during that process, right? And most times, if that's the case, and you've got really good documented procedures and you've got a really good clean management system, then it does make it easier for you to be an acquisition target.
And I'm thinking too, from a book perspective, like, is all of the information in your management system? Or
do you have one?
Is part of it in your management system? Is part of it over here in these paper files? Part of it is in your email. If I'm buying an agency, I want you to somewhat be able to hand something over to me that I know that Bubba John is a client. I have Bubba John's email and his phone number, hopefully his address.
Right.
And I know where Bubba John's 3 policies are located.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to look in your email, your Gmail, a file, a notepad that's somewhere in the backseat of your truck.
Yeah, because you're just prolonging the process. And if the process is too long, people are just going to give up on it. If you're not providing what they need in a timely manner, they're just going to move on to the next acquisition, especially if it's a company that's kind of specializing in growth through acquisition. Nope, next. And you're cutting down the pool. That's one less buyer out of the market.
Yeah. No, I want to come back to the perpetuation to the next generation. But before I do that, I'm going to step on a few toes here with this statement, even within our own partner network. If you are thinking that your CRM, and when I say CRM, I don't mean your agency management system. Okay. So there is a distinction between the CRM marketplace in the insurance agency channel and the agency management system area. So the CRM environment typically isn't connected to the industry download situation, the download concept. The CRM either has to be integrated with the management system, or it has to be set up with Zaps into the management system. So if you're an agency owner and you're hanging your hat on my good data's in my CRM and not my management system, then I know that a lot of serious buyers are going to be out. Okay. You're going to create a problem for them. Number one, that's not the way the big boys, that's not the way the buyers do it for the most part. The data that's coming into the management system from the carrier download environment is, for all intents and purposes, for the most part, clean and accurate. Okay. Whereas the data that's in your CRM, it's got some manual stuff to it. It takes integration that could be a little messy. So I want you to know that I'm not anti CRM. That is not, I want to be clear on that. I think CRMs are great. And I think, that utilizing a CRM can enhance your agency operations. What I'm saying is that you can't say, I don't need the management system, I've got a CRM. That's going to handcuff you a little bit. Okay. And that segues down to helping that next generation understand the business really, really well. So it's like, well, Shane, what does having a good set of financials, what does having a good set of operations and procedures and workflows and my tech stack in good condition have to do with perpetuating my agency to the next generation or preparing my agency for the next generation? Well, it has everything to do with it, right? It's no different than a buyer. It's no different in that sense. You've got to explain this to the next generation. If the next generation is going to be successful, again, you've got to figure out how to get all of that knowledge and all of that expertise from you to them. And I think one of the best ways to do that, outside of, shadowing you for a period of time, working under your wing for a period of time, is clear information in systems, clear workflows, in documented procedures.
AI is fantastic about helping you document procedures, by the way. Like, to me, that's
Absolutely.
the quickest, fastest, and easiest way. Shane, from a customer perspective, I would think that buyers would be looking at policy per customer, making sure your book is somewhat diverse, that it's not focused on a single or 3 or 4 clients. And I would think they would be looking at retention rates.
Yeah, I policy per customer, I think, is a great ratio. That's going to dictate the healthiness of the book. How many different carriers? Here's a pet peeve of mine, well documented. How many different carriers are you writing business with?
We're so shocked. We're shocked in this moment.
Like, if you've got 90% of your book in 8 carriers, or if I'm looking at 2 books, let me rephrase this. If I'm looking at 2 agencies, 2 books of business, and agency number 1 has around average about 8 carriers, say 90% of their book in 8 different carriers. And then I'm looking at book number 2 and it's 90% of their book in 25 different carriers. Okay. It's so spread out. I've got to consolidate some of that for profit sharing reasons. I've got to consolidate that for my staff who's used to a smaller portfolio of carriers. So I'm looking at option number one first as much as I can. It's worth more to me. I'm probably not going to be willing to pay as much for option number two with the spread of too many carriers, right? I think having on the commercial side, I got to understand some of those larger accounts. Like if you've got, you're in an area, whatever area, it doesn't matter, but you've got 20 or 30% of your revenue in a handful of really large commercial accounts. Well, then am I going to be able to keep those accounts? What kind of relationship do you have? Is that your brother-in-law's? Is the brother-in-law the CFO of that manufacturing company? And that's why you have the account. And once I own it, do they care? What, right? There's all kinds of little landmines, so to speak. And so understanding that is really important as a seller. You got to kind of put yourself in that buyer's seat. See yourself as they do.
What about the carriers themselves? Do those matter? So if 80% of your book is in standard preferred as opposed to spread all surplus lines and all kinds of stuff like that, I mean, that matters, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely matters. And because surplus lines accounts are every account's year to year. I know that, but surplus lines is really year to year. And is it in surplus lines because it has to be? Or is it in surplus lines because it's that type of business?
Let's talk about things that really kill value. Like, to me, one of those, the big one is, do your clients only know you? Like, if you go out of town on vacation, does any selling of the business basically shut down? I mean, the only reason they are buying is because they're buying from you. That makes a book a lot more difficult to purchase.
I've changed my opinion on this over the years.
Okay.
Depending on where you're at. I think the post-COVID world, let me back up. Personal lines and small commercial. Okay, let's set the context right. I'm going to talk personal lines and small commercial first. I think post-COVID world, it's a little different than it was. Okay. And I think that an agency, a buyer, if I kind of reverse this for a minute, and let's say I'm a solopreneur and I've built a really incredible book of business. It's only dependent on me, yes, because I'm it, and maybe me and a VA, but I'm generating $600,000 a year in revenue, and it's worth possibly $1.5 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million on a revenue multiple. And I'm sitting here looking at this, and it's like, this is it. I've put some money away. I'm ready to retire. Okay, well, the buyer has to be able to see that book of business without you at that point, right? And so when I think about the post-COVID personal lines world, I go back to, what does the book look like in terms of carrier makeup, in terms of profitability? Because if I can get you to help me have a good, smooth transition, and I can introduce your client base to my people and myself possibly, then I can feel pretty good about this acquisition. And so that's one situation. Now, I think where you're at and where you're going is, if I'm wanting to buy your agency more than just your book, and I want to keep operating as a second location or a third location where you are with your people, but your clients don't know your people. Your clients only know you. And so as soon as you leave, they leave. Like, I think that is a possibility too, right? But I think that's different potentially post-COVID than it used to be.
I mean,
Okay.
this kind of maybe bleeds into our topic for next time, but is there a value in a solopreneur selling to having some sort of 12-month or 24-month ease out where that person continues to work in that agency and there's kind of that warm handoff over time?
Yeah, I think yes, if you get everything on the table up front in the understanding, right? Number one, the seller, when you sell and somebody says, "Hey, I want you to stay on," understand that most sellers are going to hate that life because they haven't worked for anyone for a number of years.
Right.
And so as a buyer, how are you going to keep that person from hating that life? And somewhat maybe, dogging you because you're changing something. You don't want that. You don't want them to, people can't hide their emotions, in my opinion. So you don't want them to come across bitter to the new clients that you've purchased, in some way. And so I think there's a slippery slope there that can be done. I like the easing out. Like if I'm selling and I'm in that solopreneur or even small agency environment and I can maybe be compensated in some way to maybe work on a slowdown basis. Like I want to get into my retirement golf game. I don't want to work 40 hours a week,
There it is.
So
Rock off up.
yeah, I mean, I want to go fishing, whatever my retirement plan is, right? I need to be able to have that flexibility. And I think that's where the buyer, I've done it well, and I've done it poorly in terms of the buyer side. And I think today I know how to do it, but expectations are really going to train wreck this thing if it's not clear.
Talking about building your agency, improving your agency, and acting like it's for sale all the time, whether it is or not. To me, everything that increases the value of your agency are things that would make your agency better today. So even if you never sell it, you're going to benefit from it, right? Like making sure that you have the best customer experience possible, that your employees are doing what they need to do, that you have the right systems in place, that that you can see your profitability, and that there's less stress on you, right? I mean, those are the things that will make your agency sellable.
Just to, this is really a controllable, but I think it would be interesting to talk about for a moment. When you are going to look at a book, do you care, or is there something specifically you're looking for when you're looking at carriers? Are you looking for carriers that you've worked with, that you currently work with, because that's easier? Looking to get new carriers, so maybe looking for someone who has a little bit of diversity in it, or does it not matter at all?
I think it's potentially both. It could be either or. So obviously the really good thing about matching carriers is, hopefully you're enhancing the relationship with that carrier. Your profit sharing contingency opportunity grows. So you're just making that existing carrier portfolio stronger. But at the same time, it could be a little bit of both, in that there might be one carrier that is still there, that is new to you, where you maybe can formulate that relationship and be able to, add a carrier to the portfolio that's going to be helpful to you long term. I think the only thing there is you got to be able to really understand if you can continue with that carrier if you don't already have that relationship. Contractually, I would say 100%. I shouldn't even say most. Carrier contracts, based on my readings of carrier contracts, they do not have to honor an acquisition of an agent to another agent. They do not have to continue with the purchasing agent. And so you could buy a book and you don't have that carrier relationship, and that carrier say, we don't like you, or whatever they say. And they're like, we're not going to continue doing this. And they terminate the agreement and the business non-renews. And now you have to remarket a book of business you just purchased. And so you've spent the money and you're going to do the work. I've done that once. It's not fun. It was very, very small. And if it was any larger, it would have been a pain in the rear. And so that's something to be aware of. I think the agency network model, shameless plug, has changed this game a little bit, this concern. There are only a handful of carriers out there that are anti-agency network, or that don't. They tend to be regionals. They're good companies. They're wonderful companies, actually, been around for a long time. They just don't like the agency network model. But if all the major nationals are in agency networks, and this idea of buying an agency that has 3 or 4 really strong national carriers, you're probably going to be okay, because you probably already have them.
So again, bleeding into next time, but if you're looking to buy a book and something happened with a carrier 5 years ago, you lost that carrier, something got a little off the rails, and you're looking to buy a book and 80% of that book is in that carrier, you need to just move on.
Or you need to have some really, really, hat in hand conversation. I get us a cliche here. You gotta go in and say, okay, I know I messed up before, but this is what's going to be different this time. And, you either that or you need to walk away. Yeah. So, I do want to go back to something just a little bit earlier, that Tonya had mentioned. Talking about running your business to perpetuate, to sell, running it professionally, what I would say the right way to run it, which was not always where I was. Okay. So again, one of these learned through mistakes situations. It does make you less stressed as an owner. And when you have things more organized, when you are not running around with your hair on fire, when you're setting up things as if someone's going to come look at it to purchase it, it's kind of like, I know this is going to really step on toes, but I'm married to a very organized woman. So this has always been a really important thing. But if you are selling your house, would people see a difference in your house before they come look at it? Or if it's not, whether it's for sale or not for sale? It's kind of maybe giving people a little bit like your property, right? Is your property, to give you kind of a comparable, like, is it a mess? And then, okay, we're going to sell it. And so we're going to shine it up and make it look great. What I'm advocating for, and it's a little harder and it's a little more work, but I'm advocating for the always clean house environment, right?
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay, you're an empty nest. Of course, your house is clean.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I know I'm going to get.
This is a bad example. It's
a perfect example.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, because I was in club sports and kids and activities and all those things too, right? And our house could get in disarray like everyone else. But my point is, you can be intentional about your business just like you can be intentional about your house. Or you could be like, what's the checking account say? Am I good? I'm good. Let's go on vacation. Right. And so I'm just talking about the difference between being organized, being, set up for this success, it does make things less stressful. I did not understand this. That is not who I was. I did not understand why it was important to my wife that there not be any dishes in the sink when she comes home. Like, that didn't bother me, but that bothered the mess out of her. Right. And what I learned over time is that she didn't want to have to walk in the house and see the dishes on, and it just made her want to do it up front. Right. And so people can make the connection. I have faith that I'm not going to get, ridiculed too bad. People can make the connection to where my comparable's going here.
That's because if anything is in the wrong place, Julie just throws it away.
This is true. Some of y'all don't have that. I get it. I'm very blessed. I know that. And if I was by myself, that would probably not be the case.
So you're telling me if something's out of place, Julie throws it out?
Some possibly.
Yeah, she throws away everything but the white pens. I don't know how the white pens have not been thrown away.
I need her to come spend some time in my basement.
Yeah. She might give you a warning shot.
Mm-hmm.
She might.
My goal in life one time is to have Julie and Kylie, who is Shane's sister, who runs our partner solutions department, to come to my house, throw everything away, put everything that's left where it needs to be, and then my life is perfect.
Yeah. Look, you've heard of firing the shot across the bow, right? You've heard of that phrase. She'll fire a shot across the bow for you. She'll give you a chance, right? But hey, the next time you walk through and you're looking for that thing you didn't pick up, well, it may be gone.
There you go.
But I don't know. This is hard. I do know that.
Good thing she doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, I know. So this is hard. As an agency owner, like I get you. Don't, I get it. It was hard for me, as well. And we're talking about doing hard things, right? But I think doing hard things is good for us. Just like, doing the hard things of getting your house in order. And when I mean house, I mean your agency in order, having financials, good financials. Yes. That's a plus. I'm talking about having financials, right? Like, doing hard things is going to make your agency, your book of business, more valuable.
I think the bottom line that I take away from the conversation is, don't be afraid to spend a little money to outsource some of these things so they're done right. Because not only are they getting done right, but it's also freeing you up to do more of what you need to do to make more revenue anyway. If someone else is doing all those things that you don't like to do, that take you too long to do, those are just the minutes and the hours you're not spending talking to prospects or talking to people at renewal time.
That's right.
Go through your inbox of I will take care of that later stuff. And it's going to be all the things that you don't do well and you don't enjoy because you don't do them well, right? And we all have not all of us, because Mike throws everything away in his inbox. But
throw the inbox away if I could.
Right. When you would throw OneDrive away if you could, like, forget having anything. Just
no. I would not throw that away. I would have a special ceremony for the demise of that, and it would be grand. I mean, there would be fireworks and there would be explosions.
I sent Mike a meme earlier today that said, like, your choice, finding something in OneDrive or driving your car into the ocean. And Mike's like, that's not even a question for me.
Yeah.
I just don't know what you want different. Like, I think
to be able to find something.
Yeah. How about we don't bury things 17 folders deep?
Well, it's called organization.
It's not. No.
It's called structure.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's structure.
That's playing. No, it's playing hide and seek.
No,
Yes.
Trying to accomplish something.
no, it's structure. And the thing that what I don't understand is what you want it to be different, because this is actually a valid part of our conversation today, right? Like organizing things.
I'll tell you, no, I have an answer for this.
Okay, I want to hear it.
It's a CRM.
A CRM.
Because then
Oh,
everything
goodness.
goes into some place that it belongs.
Okay,
Instead of, we have 6 folders at the root level. And then once you've made your selection on that one and potentially picked the right one, now you have
Potentially.
7 additional choices.
Yes.
so what you're saying is you do not like the Windows file structure environment, is what you're ultimately saying.
Yes.
Right.
It is not
feel like
defining anything.
you feel like it's too undefined, it's too loose, it doesn't, but the problem you're going to have with that answer to me is things are going to get manipulated because it doesn't have a place to truly go where it belongs.
So my challenge with it is slightly different than Mike's. I like the Windows folder structure. I have no problem with that. The challenge for me is my brain doesn't think the same way for Windows folder structure that Mike's would, or you, or Holly, or Robbie, or Julie. And so to me, it's a thing should be here, but it's way over here, then my brain is not even thinking that it would be over there. And then on top of that, if you save every single version of everything you've ever had, when you try to use the search version, and all I can find is the version of that from 2004, and I can't find the version of it from 2026 because it's not called the same thing. Well, then I'm using the wrong stuff.
Yeah. I think first, you're trying to use something in a way that it wasn't designed to use. Right?
It wasn't designed to use well.
It was, that's just the reality of it, right? It's like Julie and I have this debate because she's Excel queen, right? And she writes letters from Excel. And I'm like, look,
So
Excel was not designed for you to write letters, right? So don't get frustrated at Excel when it wasn't made for you to write letters. It was designed for you to crunch and organize numbers and data. Wasn't designed for the letter. Yeah, but Word is too freeform. I can't do it there, right? So I think that debate is going to be ongoing. But look, that's how that ties back into, running your agency as if it's for sale or running your agency as a clean house. That structure is really important when the day comes. And it's going to be really difficult for you to scramble in the 11th hour and get it reorganized. My deal is doing the hard things and doing it up front, or wherever you are, start today and get there and get it into an environment as if you were trying to sell it. That is going to actually increase the value of your agency, just that alone.
So
let's
this is
get to the SEC quote of the day. Come on.
No, I do want to close this out real quick, though, in that this is part 1 of a 2-part series. So today we talked about what to do in order to get your agency ready for sale, whether you're looking at selling in the next 5 years or 25 years from now, right? So the next episode, we're going to be talking about what it looks like if you decide to buy a book or buy an agency to have a second location, but all of the things that you need to know and you need to think about when you're starting to look at acquiring a book of business. So hang out with us next week. That's what we're going to be chatting about. Since I never remember that we're going to be doing a part 2 until like 3 or 4 weeks later, Mike, and by the way, we know Shane's not going to remember, so just don't even put that on him.
Absolutely.
So Mike, your job or next Tuesday, should you choose to accept it, is to remind us of what we are talking about.
Now, I was about to say it's a 2-part series if Tonya remembers that we're doing a 2-part series, but
Right.
okay.
Right. But
She's now
I have-
delegated that to Mike, so I'm feeling better about it now.
if somebody can do it 80% as well as I am, then I need to let them do it. Well, I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Rick Pitino. Excellence is the unlimited ability to improve the quality of what you have to offer.
I went the basketball route, coach, today. I like it. Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
At the Integra Partner Network, we understand that carrier access is the key to your agency's success. That's why Integra offers direct access to top-rated personal and commercial carriers, ensuring your agency thrives in today's challenging market. And with our comprehensive resources, profit sharing and bonus opportunities, technology and peer support, all while you retain 100% of your book with no penalties to exit. Integra is ready to empower you and your agency to find sustained growth. Find your way to Integra. Visit IntegraPartnerNetwork.com today. That's IntegraPartnerNetwork.com.